the home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads.
Today's theme of the day is losing one's bowels quite profusely, and that matches two teams this week, that being the Texas Long Puddings and the USC Skittle Shitters, as both teams seem to really be losing their bowels about some stuff. USC is sort of turning on old Linky Boy, Tebow, TBOW, the bitch out west, and Texas is making excuses and saying some things that and doing some things that just make them look quite petty and make them look like they are losing their bowels quite profusely, and we may even have to nominate them for a certain club. Let's talk about it. Here we go. Around the corner, here we come. We're at the halfway point and past the halfway point of college football season as we're going into week 7 of college football. As I said once again, I'll say it again. It goes by like a blink of the eye. Here they are once again, right on in. It's the Outlaw Posse, now in effect. And today's full horseman shout-outs go to Marty King, Eric Taco Marino, Sheldon Lamy, and Tim Gillespie are mounted up and they're ready to go and help me with today's college football invasion. And if you want your badge and you want to get deputized like these 4 guys and get your random 4 horseman shout out, all you got to do is hit that join button next to the subscribe button. It's not but $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a bottle of water. Speaking of which, we have 3 new members in the posse. Mad Dog Mike, CJ06, and College Football with Jonathan Lewis are now deputized, and they're mounted up and they're saddled up and they're ready to go. Also, I can be reached on Twitter at OCF Productions. Now, getting right to it here. Seems like this is a pretty good week for me. As you know, the 2 Crimson Nations won, and Texas has been losing their bowels on me. I think they reported my channel for saying horns down in the title for whatever petty ass reason. I've never understood why they get so bent out of shape about that. If you wouldn't let people, as my boy Killer Breeze has said numerous times, if you wouldn't let people know it bothered you, they probably would quit saying it because it's really not that big of a deal. But the main problem and issue I have with Texas, other than going around reporting my channel, is the fact that Steve Sarkisian supposedly said, according to On 3, now I don't know if this was one of those fake made up little memes that they Photoshop and whatnot, but if not, it was a pretty stupid thing for Steve to say, in my opinion. I've always had a lot of respect for Steve Sarkisian, even though he went through some trouble with alcoholism and whatnot. We all have our demons. But Steve supposedly said that the reason why Oklahoma beat Texas is because Texas ran out of time. Help me here for a second. Since the beginning of college football time, a lot of things have changed, but there was one thing that hasn't changed, Steve, and that's the fact that you got 4 quarters to win a ball game. If you cannot win that ball game in the 4 quarters of that game, guess what that's called? That's called losing. Yes, Oklahoma did beat you in those 4 quarters. If you had wanted it to go to overtime, then you should have found a way to score a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal there at the end, right? That's why it's called overtime, Steve. I've had people say that before. Mark Richt for Georgia said that a while back when Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. We just run out of time. Well, no shit, Mark. That's probably the dumbest excuse that any coach can come up with. I don't care how well respected you are, to say something that asinine and complete idiocy just it boggles my mind. I mean, it's probably one of the worst excuses you could ever come up with. It's even worse than blaming the officials. We run out of time. Oklahoma didn't really beat us. Yes, they did. Because throughout history, when the game's over at the end of 4 quarters, if it's not tied and the other team's leading, guess what, Stevie boy? Pee Wee Herman. Isn't his hair not look like Pee Wee Herman a little bit? But anyway, that means you have lost the game, Steve. And the way y'all been crying this week and the way y'all been acting and what I've heard about the city of Austin, I think that we're going to nominate you guys to be in a somewhat infamous elite club. Not really elite, but unelite club. And that being the Skittle Shitter Club, which is right now only the home to those USC Skittle Shitters. But I think Texas Skittle Shitters sounds rather well too. But I'm not going to vote you right into the Hall of Shame just quite yet, Texas. Matter of fact, I'm going to have a little poll after this podcast, and we're going to be fair about it because this is a free country and this is a democracy, and polls are supposed to count and mean something. Voting is supposed to mean something, although we probably wouldn't know it by the last election, but we won't touch that. We won't get into that, but we'll have a little poll, and I'll be fair, and we'll see. We'll put it to the common Joes and the common Sallys out there in the know, even more so than all the media talking heads. We'll put it to you guys, and we'll be fair. Does Texas deserve to be in the Skittle Shitter Club, or do they not? You guys and gals, y'all vote on that after the show. Now, the USC Skittle Shitters, the original Skittle Shitters, seems like they're turning a little bit on Lincoln Riley. I'm going to throw a few screenshots up here in just a second just to prove my point because I showed it in the last live stream as well. But it seems like these fans have got quite a few things to say about Lincoln Riley and Stench the Grinch and his nappy-ass defense. Let's take a look at it. This comes from USCFootball.com. Piney Fork Trojan says, OU is head and shoulders better than SC. It's actually embarrassing, the difference. Then Virginia USC says, and they are much better going forward because they are committed to recruiting. This program isn't going anywhere in its current form. Sad, but reality. Yeah. And there's more. Robert Bineswanger says, I would absolutely trade Riley for Venables, and I'm not sure it's even close. I cannot stand watching a porous defense any longer. We've been terrible on that side of the ball since Carroll announced he was leaving for Seattle. Old cheap Pete. And Trojan Texas, on that note, says, let's just get the misery over tonight, folks. We just can't delay it any longer. We are simply not a good football team. So, seems as though the USC fans are starting to see the light finally. Maybe, just maybe, there's hope for them. Maybe they can come to the realization that this guy was given the keys to a pretty decent castle when Bob Stoops left. Now, Bob Stoops wasn't winning national championships at the rate Nick Saban is in his latter years of coaching. But nevertheless, they were in pretty good shape, a team that was contending for conference championships each and every year and playoff spots. He didn't have to come in and build anything. Now, people say, well, he come in and built USC, but yeah, we all know that when he took over at Oklahoma, there was no such thing as the immediate transfer portal. Now that he has the immediate transfer portal, he can just go in there and filch everything from Oklahoma while he was still at Oklahoma, which is what he did, and now it's catching up to him. Just like my boy Killer Bree said, building your team on transfer portal players is a recipe for disaster because eventually you're going to run into the fact that those guys are in the transfer portal and they're leaving their current team because they're probably not good enough to start at a Division I football school. Now, you're going to get a few nuggets out there like Alabama did with Jameson Williams, but for the most part, I'd say 70 to 80% transfer portal players are just not good enough to cut it. And eventually, I think that you're going to run out of luck because you're not going to have genuine high school recruits that you have developed behind these guys when they graduate. And I could be wrong. I mean, you could continue to go out there and get the best of the transfer portal players out there. But the Jameson Williams Nuggets that Alabama got, for example, are far and few in between, man. These are players, like I said, that couldn't cut it at their former team. And eventually you're going to run out of luck, in my opinion. And people keep saying that Tebow is going to leave, Linky Boy is going to leave this year after Caleb Williams, married Caleb Williams' fingernails, leaves. He's going to be out of here and be in an NFL job. Really? I don't know, man. I mean, if you're an NFL head coach and you see what's going on right now with USC, even though they're undefeated, we all know they've been playing a lot of subpar competition. Would you actually hire him as a head coach of your football team if he gives not two rips about getting a modicum of a defense? I don't know. I think he might end up at one of my favorite teams that I like to conjure up from time to time. I think Linky Boy is going to end up with the Nagasaki Egg Rolls as the punting coordinator. But all kidding aside, he's a good offensive coordinator, and that's probably what he needs to be doing somewhere in the future. And that's all I got to say about that. And the comment of the day, by the way, goes to Rich Castle at Brad6420. He says, good show, Outlaw. Yeah, the schedule left for OU doesn't sound daunting in terms of the team's records they have yet to play. But all the teams in the mid-12 have trap game status if you sleep on them. Oklahoma, just like Bama, gets everybody's best effort. Teams pull out all the stops to try and beat them. Trick plays, burn a red shirt, let the grass grow an extra inch. You know what I mean, brother. I like that last part. That was a hell of a finish there, Rich Castle. And as I said before, if you want to join the Outlaw Posse and get your badge like these other guys and possibly the comment of the day, as well as get your random Four Horsemen shout out, all you got to do is hit that join button, that subscribe button. It ain't but $2.99 a month. That's 75 cents a week. That's just a bottle of water. Also, there's a little heart down here. If you want to give a donation right now to the program, you hit that heart, throw a few dollars in the coffers, and like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Those things are free, the big four, and they really help. And I'm out of here. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.